Karen Bonafilio, Inner Realms, Outer Journeys. I got to tell you, I have a special guest on today, and this guest means so much to me. And I am changing my flavor of the video today, and you'll see why. But first, I want to introduce you to Domingo Cholula. So, Domingo, say hi, and then I'll tell them a little bit about you.
Hi everyone.
Okay, I gotta tell you, Domingo is a former student of mine. I was his teacher 28 years ago. Doesn't that just sound crazy? 28 years.
So long ago.
I
But it also
know.
feels like just, a couple weeks ago. Yeah. For me. I remember everything so vividly.
I know. You do remember everything. And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to tell a story. And Maddie, I'm really excited. So my dogs are amped up. So I can't help that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maddie, stop it. So let me tell you about Domingo, and then I'm going to tell you a story, and he's going to take it away. He is a freelance fashion designer, and do you say it couture?
Couture.
Couture.
Yeah.
Currently living in Paris. He's
Yeah.
living in France.
Oui,
Oh my God.
exactement.
I know. He grew up in Hillsboro, Oregon, a little town around here, and now he's in France.
Oh yeah.
And I was so proud of him when he left. He's been living in Paris since 2022 of August. He got his BA in fashion design from the Academy of Art University of San Francisco. He was born in Southern California. I didn't know that. And grew up in Portland with his 5 siblings. Okay, so the reason why Domingo is on is because of his story. This is a human interest story because Domingo could have gone down many different roads in his life. And as you can tell, he's looking pretty good, pretty fine, living in France and working in the fashion industry. So he made some really good choices in his life. And I want to tell you a quick story about him. He was so artistic in school, such a good artist. And he was a very quiet student. He would just kind of look around and watch what was going on, but so talented. And Domingo, I really feel badly about this, but he had painted this beautiful dragon. And
I remember.
I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and I asked him if I could have it. And I shouldn't have, because students will do what their teachers want. And when I reflect back on it now, because he wanted to know if I still had it, I thought I feel so badly that and then I snowballed it to all my students where I asked them for things, and I felt badly. So I apologize to my students that I took your artwork away from you.
No, it's all good. I was more interested in seeing it because you have this one vision when you're
Yeah.
painting it. It's like you're perfect and everything's great, but then you look at previous artwork and you see how much you've grown. So I just wanted to see like where or
Oh,
how talented I was back then and
well,
to
you
see
were.
like now.
But I think if you saw it now, you would find fault with it. You would
Probably.
not be
Yeah.
satisfied, but it was gorgeous,
Yeah.
everybody. Really, really was. But another teacher inherited it when I retired.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah.
nice.
So, so we teachers like samples. We like to show this is what we would like you to do.
Yeah.
Just look at this. So Domingo kind of had a rough upbringing, and I'm just going to let him talk and then ask questions as we go along.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
So, yeah, of course. Where do you want me to start with this?
You came from challenging conditions. I think
Yeah.
you need to start early on in life and the challenges that you faced.
Yeah. Um, well, when we met, we just moved from Southern California over to Tucson. We lived there for a year and then moved to Hillsboro. And everything was fine and dandy up until I was probably 11 when it all started. But my mother had gotten into drugs, and it was meth, which is one of the strongest ones, and
Way back then.
hard. What was that?
Way back then.
Hmm.
Didn't know they had back then.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it was a very tough addiction to deal with, and at the same time, I think it was around the same time or a little bit before, but my father had also been deported from back to Mexico, and so didn't have a father figure. Then was just living with my mother being on drugs, and with the use, you'd have a high for a few days and you're awake and you're doing everything, you're cleaning, you're paranoid, you're looking at the window,
Right.
and then you have a crash and then you're asleep for 2, 3 days. So then it was my two older sisters who we were divided by the older siblings and the younger siblings, 3 and 3. Um, but I do remember my older sisters always being the ones to make sure that we've got groceries, that we're taken care of, and everything was fine. And then it was that scary period of my mother waking up, and if
Mm.
the house was a mess, it was just all hell. And so at some point, we ended up going into foster care, and even that
So,
in
so
itself had its own.
the state must intervene to do that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember it was the end of I think I was in seventh grade, seventh or eighth grade.
Okay.
And yeah, yeah, so I think it was like seventh grade, the end of seventh grade. And then I went to a foster home. We all were split up into two homes, one for the boys, one for the girls. Uh, and then even I had issues with my foster parents, didn't like the situation that I was in.
Mm.
And yeah, after that, we kind of all were scattered a little bit throughout the Multnomah, or yeah, Multnomah County, Washington County. And
So did they put you in different homes after that or something?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, but for the most part, I think it was essentially 4 homes when everything kind of settled down, where everyone was,
Mhm.
kind of happy. In the home that I was placed in, it I was really confused as why they placed me in it. And you'd think that, okay, well, the state took you, and the state is going to take care of you and do all these things for you. But I was put into this group home, which was really interesting. So it was up on Bull Mountain. It was this big giant house, and when I arrived, I thought if there was some kind of party or some event happening. There were a lot of cars on the driveway, and interesting cars too, not your kind of typical ones that you'd see every
Are you
day.
talking expensive cars or something?
Expensive, yeah. I mean, he had a very exotic. It was like a Plymouth Prowler, very interesting
Mm.
roadster kind of looking car. I mean, I saw um, Chrysler Sebring. It was the year as well. Lincoln Navigator. He had a Mercedes Benz. He had two Corvettes, and
Jeez.
he had an F-150, a Datsun 280Z. And over my time living there, he had also picked up like a kit car Porsche, um, and also was given a um, Harley Davidson for Christmas one year. So, and then also in seeing both my foster parents, both adorned with gold rings, gold
Right.
necklaces, earrings, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I know what's going on. We all have a price tag, and in the home that I was put in, I think it was more of like the more troubled kids. However, I felt really out of place. And one foster brother told me, this is the place where they put you as a last resort. And if you don't succeed here, they put you in another kind of facility. And so I always did my best to stay out of trouble, be good, which is not hard for me to do because I am
No.
pretty well behaved.
Yeah, you are.
Um, but
I'm
of all
surprised you even
the
got I'm surprised they put you in that home.
Mhm. Well,
Okay.
they were seen as like these saviors, angelic. Everyone in the community loved them. We went to church. We went to a Pentecostal church every Sunday, and I tried to fight that
Oh.
and saying that like you can't force a religion, and the state would say, well, if they can't provide you with a place to stay, then you have to be with them since that's where they're gonna be going. And I said, well, my foster dad stays home. He never goes to church, but my foster mom forces us to go to church, and there was no other option. So I would just go, and it was a Pentecostal church, very interesting.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, at this point, I was open about who I am,
Okay.
and but still recent, and so discovering who I am, and getting teased by some of my foster brothers, but at the same time also being accepted, so it was okay. And then going to this church every Sunday, the pastor would say it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, and so everyone of course would like look at me, and I'm just like,
Oh my God.
I got to a point where I was like, I don't care what people say or people think, but this is what I had to grow up
But
with.
that's at a young age, Domingo.
hmm Yeah, and with my foster parents, my foster mom was a drill sergeant, and she was really really tough with some of the kids, and I'm going to use some expletives, but she would tell kids, I don't know who the hell you think you are or where. Um, you're lower than whale shit at the bottom of the ocean, and I'm just like, I don't ever want to get in that position to get in so much trouble and have her yell at me like that. At the same time, I was thinking like, how are you going to pull me away from an abusive home and put me in another one and then pay them? So, like I said, we all had our price tag. So the more
I need to know what that means.
a price tag?
Well, I know what that means, but are they doing something illegal to have all that money?
Well, it yeah, sort of.
Okay.
I think it's still kind of a blur to me, but
Okay.
after I got out of the home, and I did end up getting in trouble, and this is because after some time had passed, my mom had gone to prison, cleaned up her act, was out. I was able to find and have a telephone call with her, and my foster parents were listening on the other line, and
Oh, stinker.
to mask what I was doing, and we were allowed like 10-minute phone calls, per day or something like that. It was very very strict household.
Regimented. Hmm.
Yeah. And so I got in trouble for talking to my mother, and my foster dad had asked who was that woman on the phone. I was like, no one, it's just a friend. And eventually I got in trouble, and I was so upset with myself because I never got in trouble. And this is
Right.
after I think 3 4 years of living in this home and
Wow.
seeing so many foster kids come and go, a lot of them runaways.
Oh,
So just not happy. And this was a home, pretty big home, but we were 8 boys generally in 2 bedrooms, so 2 bunk beds per.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it was
Wow.
like military school. And like I
Mm.
said, my foster mom was a drill sergeant, so we would like line up and say yes ma'am, no ma'am. Very,
Oh,
very,
bingo.
yeah. So there was no love, no warmth in the home, I would say. Um, but when I had gotten in trouble, I was just pouting. I was in the corner, and I said something. I said like, I hate my life. I hate this home. I hate everyone in here. And one of my foster brothers decided to tell my foster parents, "Oh, Domingo's doing this. Domingo's saying this." And so
Oh my God.
My foster mom called me into her room, and I didn't believe it because normally you'd hear when she hollers and calls someone. Eventually, she got so frustrated because I wasn't on my way. And then she yelled at me and she called me a fucking queer. She was inches from my face and told me, I don't know who the hell you think you are. The same things that she would always tell everyone else. But I had answers to her. And
Uh-oh.
I said, I'm Domingo Cholula and I'm right here. Because she said, I don't know who the hell you think you are or where.
Good for you.
And she ended up swearing at me, and I said, "Don't yell at me, and don't swear at me." And I was really, really, holding my ground because
How
I was
old are
not
you?
about. I think at this point I was in, I
15,
was junior year. This was junior year of high school,
16? Mm-hmm.
and eventually she called me queer, and she said, if you don't want to live here, bad enough, there's the door. Get the hell out of my house. So that's what I did. I just grabbed my shoes, my jacket, and the reports say that I ran away, but I tell everyone I walked.
I didn't run. I walked.
I
Okay.
walked to the bus and took the bus over to my sister's home, and they took me in. And fortunately, I had a really nice friend in high school, and she was adopted out of foster care from
Oh,
her
good.
mother,
Hmm.
and who I'd also met a few times, and so she was emergency licensed to take me in. So
Oh, good.
yeah, I lived with her for about 8 months, and that was wonderful.
And was your
Um,
mom not able to take you at that time or not allowed to take you?
no, not at this point because I think something to do with like parenting classes, and you have to go through so many different hurdles just to be able to rightfully take in your kids again. Um, and so yeah, after sometime after, I remember picking up a newspaper and I saw this article. It was just like, I never pick up the newspaper, and the page that I turned to and the little article that I found, it was something about King Mountain House Ablaze or something like that. And um,
Oh, no.
this was like really, really curious. And so I kept reading it and I saw the address. It was my former home.
My
There was
God.
a fire. But this was actually after my foster mom passed away. So
The foster
backtracking,
mom that was mean to you?
she had
Okay.
passed away. Yeah, she had passed away. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, I got out. I, I would say probably a year later, the home was shut down because they were running two homes. They were running one in Multnomah County and one in Washington County. And the
Mhm.
counties don't talk to each other. So
Oh,
that's how they were able to get away with having two homes. I think
oh,
one of them was an adult foster home and one of them was for us. And
sure.
this kind of explains the weird hours that my foster parents were working. So my foster mom
Mhm.
would be asleep all day and then would go to work overnight. And then my foster dad would be with us all day. And then, you know,
Go. Mhm.
yeah. So, but I also knew that they were both working at the same place in another place, which is really weird.
Wow.
And it was mentally disabled adults.
They
So I
can't
think
even
that
take
was
care of you
like
guys.
a home. No, no.
No,
And like I said, that
nobody.
there was no warmth in the home. It was like
Yeah, there's
nine.
no one there to help you with your homework or anything, take
Mm,
you shopping or feed you.
no. Yeah, the breakfast, lunch, dinner was always on time. Nine
No.
o'clock. 9 o'clock, you'd all have to go upstairs. Everyone who took medication, take your morning pills. I was the only one who never took anything. Um, so yeah, 9 o'clock, you'd go upstairs, you'd feed their birds, make breakfast, and then clean up after that. Then you're free to go. Noon, we'd show up again. Lunch, take your afternoon pills, um, and clean all that up, and then disappear again. Play games, go outside, go to the park, whatever, and then show back up again at 6 o'clock for dinner. Sometimes we would have movie nights, which was nice.
Have what?
Movie nights.
Movie nights.
So yeah,
So what are the meds that you're taking? Are they vitamins?
sure. No, it's I knew that some of my foster brothers were taking antidepressants, antipsychotics, all sorts of things.
So they were prescribed medications then.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. I thought they were
But
just giving you something to like quiet you down.
keep us.
Yeah.
No, no. Yeah, so everyone was on like Wellbutrin, Zoloft. They were on
Wow.
Klonopin. I don't know some of the weird names.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, everyone would go upstairs and take their pills, and I'm just like in the corner. Well, I don't have anything to take,
Yeah. I'll just kind
but
of hang out.
yeah, and so the foster home was shut down, and then my foster mom passed away, and I remember going to her memorial service at the church, but not to pay her respect, but just to see some of the people that I'd become friends with, and
Hmm.
like the youth group that we were in, and
Hmm.
everyone would come to me and say, "Oh my goodness, we're so sorry that you know Carol
So
passed away, and this and that," and I just said, "Good riddance." I was I did not hold back on saying
They had no clue though.
no.
They had
I
no
was like,
clue what kind
I'm
of a
so
person.
glad. I was like, I'm so glad she's gone because she was an awful person. And they were
Mhm.
like, how could you say something like that? That's awful. And I said, you didn't grow up with her. That's the
Mhm.
thing. I was like, she was an angel in the church, but she was
Not.
the devil
Mhm.
outside.
Mhm.
And this is why I don't necessarily like organized religions I don't. I feel like they're all just cults, and everyone's just to made look pretty and have a
Mhm.
perfect life.
Mhm.
Um, so, yeah. Then after a while, I guess my foster dad was alone in his big house, a lot of cars, this and that. So he was away. He was away at the Oregon coast, and that's when the fire happened. I think it was sometime around Father's Day.
Oh
Um,
no.
but Not long after, I got a phone call from the insurance company and they asked me questions. And one of the questions was, do you think this was deliberate arson? And I said, yes.
Oh wow.
I was like, I know these people and I know the way they are.
Mhm.
They're all about money. And, you've got a big house. It's got a tennis court. It's got 2 acres of land. It's um, very expensive things in there, exotic birds, you had exotic fish,
Those cars.
yeah, the cars, he had fur coats as well. So I was like, yeah, there's no doubt that this place was
Wow.
set on fire just to claim some cash. So yeah, at
Domingo.
this point I was like, I don't know what's going on with him, but last I heard he was living in a trailer home and
Oh really?
yeah,
Did
so
he make all this money from the jobs they worked and the foster care?
yeah,
Okay, so they
yeah.
weren't dealing drugs or anything like that.
Not that I know of. No, but like I said, that we all had our price tag. So
Yeah.
the worse or more ill-behaved you are, or medical conditions that you have, I don't know
Oh,
how much exactly, but
what?
when you become a foster parent, you are given a stipend, and that goes for um, food, clothing, any kind of educational expenses, anything to help
Yes.
with the upbringing.
Hmm.
But I never saw. I mean, when we would go to Costco and do major grocery shopping, and I would see ho-hos and ding dongs and chips and snacks and all these things, little Debbie's. We never saw any of that. So, our typical breakfast was uh, eggs, jam and toast, simple things. Our lunches were maybe a hot dog and a handful of chips
Oh my
and
God.
soda, and then dinner was a little bit more, but
Not
just
a home cooked.
very. I mean, yes, he would cook, and there would be spaghetti or some other kind of pasta or other things with like meat, protein, whatever. I can't think of anything. I really cannot think of anything that was like wow, amazing. Especially, I mean, there was special occasions and we would have good food, but
Hmm.
no. And I never had milk as like I just want a glass of milk, or if I'm making a PB&J sandwich.
Hmm.
And the only time I ever had it was when they were both out, and he would have his mother take care of us.
Oh, and she'd give
And I
it to
would ask, I'd say, "Hey, Nona, can I have a glass of milk?" "Yeah, yeah, baby." So that's how I would get my milk.
you.
Um,
Wow, Domingo.
yeah,
Jeez.
and
I
like
can
I
see
said, that
why
there
you
was,
walked away.
yeah, yeah. So when I stepped into my other foster home, she was a wonderful person, and I'm still in contact with her.
Hmm.
And I had a very hard time getting comfortable and like we'd be watching TV in the living room, and she says, "Do you want anything to snack on? Do you want like something? There's a whole pantry. Like help yourself to anything." And I was just not used to
Oh my God.
having that free like and to this day I never buy like rarely buy chips if I'm working and I want to
Hmm.
munch on something, yeah, I'll do that. But I never go to the grocery store and say, "Ooh, I want chips and I want cookies and I'll snack on these later at some point, sometime." So my pantry, there are no snacks because I just grew up not feeling like I was allowed to. Yeah.
Wow.
So, and I was only with this foster mom for 8 months, but she made quite an impression on me.
Yeah, like,
Um,
this is the way it's supposed to be.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
family. And now your brothers and everybody, they're all farmed out at different places. So did you lose contact with them?
We That was one thing that we always made sure to have visits with each other.
Okay,
So
good.
yeah. So over the years, I mean, Daisy and Yesenia were in one home, and Araceli was in another one, and Marco and Daniel were always together. So we would coordinate.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
No, I was thinking, I think I had Araceli in my class. I think, maybe not.
Maybe.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
She's 2 years younger than me, so
Yeah,
it's possible.
I think I did.
Um, I'll have to ask her.
I don't
Yeah.
know what my name was back then, to tell you the truth.
Oh gosh.
I've had a few.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so we stayed in contact. We would do uh overnight sometimes.
Good.
Uh, well, of
Mhm.
course not at my home because there was a home full of boys, but they would visit, but it was just never like I
Mhm.
said, it's just not warm. It's not a cozy place. You'd go into the living room and sit and have a nice like visit, and that's it. But then I would go to my sister's home, and we just did whatever, hung out, watched TV,
Yeah.
watched movies. We
Mhm.
weren't bound to staying in the home, so they had this very welcoming
Mhm.
experience. And so
Mhm.
I grew up completely different than most of my siblings.
Wow.
So yeah, that's that.
It's really sad. It
It
really does.
is.
Because those
It is, and I've told this story to so many people, and a lot of them are like, "Oh my God, I had no idea." And the first thing they say,
Mhm.
I had no idea that you were adopted." And I said, "No, no, no one loved me enough to just say, okay, let's keep you permanently. I don't need a paycheck from the state."
and I
Um,
and I had no clue, once you're out of the school where I taught, anything like this happened. I had no
mhm.
clue.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we a lot of us did go through therapy, and
Oh, yeah.
I did one session of therapy, and I remember the lady
It's not
was
very nice.
like, no, she's like, it sounds like you're more struggling with your sexuality. Here, let's take you to this one group. It's just down the street. They meet every Wednesday. And I'm like, okay. So that was my therapy, but it wasn't. It was just a
It
hangout.
didn't heal any of your trauma from your
Well,
past.
the thing is like, and I reflect on it all the time. I know my siblings still struggle with that.
Mhm.
Maybe I figured it out. I don't know. But when I think back on it, I don't dwell on it. I'm actually in contact with my mother again. I understand what she's done.
Oh. Oh.
Yes, only recently. I actually got her a phone, and so we've been texting on WhatsApp, which is really nice. Sometimes we do video chats.
Nice.
Um, but the thing is, like, I don't blame her. I don't blame anyone. I blame a thing, and the thing is drugs.
Yeah.
And this is
That's
why,
that's huge though for you to be able to do that.
yeah.
It
So because
is.
I know it clings on to you, and without it, you're just powerless. She needed it. She was doing
And
anything possible to get it. I Before the drugs, I mean, we had a really good life. We
it,
had even a nanny coming in every single day that my parents were working. My mother worked at a tech company. She
mhm.
worked a schedule, which was really nice. I really enjoyed it because it was she'd be
Yeah.
working 4 days a week, and then 3 days a week, and then long hours. I think 12
Mhm.
hour 12-hour days, but she was able to get those 40 hours in a short amount of time. So we spent a lot
Mhm.
of time with her. And then my dad would go off and do a lot of construction jobs. So, I mean, a lot of that newly incorporated Hillsborough area,
Mhm.
in the Tannisbourne area, was all built, with his
Mhm.
help. So he was a
Wow.
drywall installer.
Is he still alive?
Uh, Unfortunately, he passed away October 2022. So just a couple months after I arrived in Paris.
In France. Yeah.
hmm hmm But we were in contact, thanks to technology, Facebook. We would
Hmm.
call or video chat. So that was nice. So I always like maintained a healthy relationship with my dad. Um, but yeah, kind of going back on the trauma.
Yeah.
Uh, like I said, I just blamed it all on drugs, and this is why I don't even do the lightest thing, which is marijuana. I don't do anything. I
Is
like
that
to be.
legal? Is it
Hmm?
legal in France?
Shockingly, no, it's not.
That surprises me.
It really does. Me too. And it's not one that I mind because it's an herb, There's no
Hmm.
one's died from it. No one's overdosed from it. But
Hmm.
I've accidentally consumed an edible and I was gone for 15
But that
hours.
was a
And
surprise.
I was like, this is the worst brownie I've ever tried.
They usually have that kind of taste to them. You must not have
Oh,
noticed.
no. I was like, well, I was hungry. I was at a friend's place and I
No
was like,
one
ooh, a
told
brownie.
you? Oh my gosh. That's
No,
that was sneaky.
30 minutes later, I'm just like,
It's interesting.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
And
sorry. I'm
that
a
was
child of that era.
well, this is back in San Francisco too, so
Yeah, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Oh my
place
gosh.
to be for it.
So how
Um,
did you start turning everything around?
well, it's not that I turned anything around. I just kept going forward. And this is the other thing too that I
Okay,
think about,
that's
and I think
a really good
that
point.
that has helped me. That has helped me with my trauma. Is I think about, and I tell this to my sisters all the time, like get over it. Don't forget about it. Don't ignore it. It did happen.
Yeah.
Everything that happened happened. So it's like when the people say, I was molested. Yes, believe them, you know.
Mm,
Um, but move on. Don't let it consume you. So for me, this is what's helped
good.
me. And
Well, I
I
know
just kept,
Daisy's done really well.
well, yes and no. Yes, she's doing really, really well, but she hasn't let go of the trauma.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, well, you have a doctorate in psychology.
Yeah. She's a therapist.
Yes,
Hmm.
but she's the one that needs it the most, I feel.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like, and it's because like they still hold on to this anger. And I actually went off on them not that long ago that, my mother is now out of prison again. Um, and yeah, she went back for 10 years. When you relapse, you relapse.
10
She,
years?
she was clean and then yeah, some crazy, I don't know what, but she's out. She seems to be doing pretty well. But
Hmm.
again, the system is not set up to make you succeed when you get out, at least not in the States. So, um, she's out, and I was very concerned. Okay, where is she? How do we get a hold of her? Does she need food? Does she need shelter? All these things. And so I was letting my siblings know, like, okay, well, she finally contacted us. Great. So she's got some kind of use of a phone, but it wasn't hers. So that's why I went
Hmm.
out of my way in France,
Hmm.
coordinating with my best friend. Let's get her a Cricket phone, have it shipped over to her. Let's activate it.
Hmm.
My friend is paying on his card, and then I send him money because I can't use my card. It's just all these
Okay.
complexities. But again, I told my siblings, I'm like, you guys, not one of you wanted to help. You guys all want to know what she's up to. You guys are
Hmm.
all, looking to see, but no
Hmm.
one is helping. So
And they're in the States.
and they are in the States, and they're all
And they're
living.
probably around her in the area or where, yeah.
They're all in Walla Walla now,
Oh, they
so
are?
it's about yeah, all yeah, somehow,
All of them?
yeah, yeah.
Why, why Walla Walla? No offense.
Well, Daisy graduated from Walla
I
Walla
know,
University,
I remember that. It's
and then
like the Palm Springs of Washington or something.
yeah, she got married, she had a kid, and then my oldest sister was just in love with that child, and over the time, my sister now has three, and my oldest sister was like, well, I guess I'll just stay here. So she used to go back and forth between Portland and Walla Walla, but she ended up moving. And then my youngest brother had drama with an ex-girlfriend, and everyone was like, just move to Walla Walla, get out of the
Oh my
toxic
God.
Portland. So he moved to Walla Walla. And then my little sister, who was in a relationship for like 15 years with nothing to show for it, was like, I'm done. And then that's when he was like, "No, baby, stay. Let's get married."
Oh yeah.
But she's all like, "Deuces."
Oh my
So
God.
she ended up moving, and then I ended up visiting back in Thanksgiving. I surprised my entire family, and I knew, well,
In Walla Walla.
in Walla Walla. So I was like, "Oh God."
That's great.
Um, so came from Paris to Seattle, and from Seattle to Walla Walla.
What a
And
culture
I
shock.
and I had asked
Sorry.
after I had surprised most of my siblings,
Oh my
and not
God.
one of them knew. I was like, "So where's Marco? When's he getting here?" Because I knew, Daisy's place is always the place where everyone
Everybody goes.
goes to for whatever event, birthdays, dinners,
Hmm.
um, and I remember my little sister saying, "Oh no, he lives here now," and I was like, "What? Since when?" And she's like, yeah, he's been living here for like 2 weeks now. And I'm like, so I guess it's my turn now?
No, Domingo. No, no, no,
Absolutely
no,
not.
no. No. You're doing fine where you are.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, they're all in Walla Walla, all
Okay.
together.
So we don't have too much more time to talk.
Okay.
So no, we have to know what happened from where you started to where you are now, because this is why I didn't know this backstory.
Oh, that's a
So this
lot.
even makes it even more incredible what you've done with your life.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Um, well, so at some point I remember everyone telling me with like fashion, I wanted to do fashion, and even my foster mom, actually the one that I really liked, I told her in high school, well, I want to be a fashion designer. I want to do fashion. And she was like, well, do you think that's really achievable? Like, do you think you can make it? It's a very cutthroat field. And so that put that doubt on me. And
Mm.
so I didn't. I just did community college because I wanted to still learn. So I did Portland State University for 1 year, but then I was like, I feel like I'm wasting my time because I don't feel like I want to do anything here. I started with like architecture and I was like, it's not right. So then I dropped, waited a little tiny bit, went to a community college. Well, let's at least get my associate's degree for something.
Hmm.
Did that, and I was so close to finishing, but then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go to San Francisco and do fashion school.
I love it.
And I
Seriously.
started at 25.
25.
At 25.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I'm
25. That's
35.
not too long ago.
Mm-mm. I'm turning
Mm.
36 very soon. So I forget sometimes how long I've been sewing, but also it's not that long. I think to myself, it's only been
No,
10
you have
years.
not been in the industry that long.
Mm-mm. No. So, yeah, moved to San Francisco, did that, but the school was very expensive. And then I got really angry with like, okay, well, this is fashion design. Design, like art, is subjective. So who's to tell me that I'm good or not if I believe in myself?
Good for
Um,
you.
but I managed to like master my craft and I dropped halfway through. Um, and I moved to Chicago. I ended up getting fired from a job, and I was just like, "Oh, I've heard of Chicago."
I remember you wanted to go to Chicago and you were talking about you wanted to get a pea coat.
Hmm.
Do you remember you wanted to have a pea coat and you're
Oh, yes, because it's so cold and chilly,
yes,
and
yes.
it was like moving to Chicago was like inching my way to New York, knowing that okay, in the States, the fashion capital of the States is New York City. But New York just felt way, way too expensive. So that's why I settled on Chicago. And I figured, oh, it's an easy flight to New York if I ever wanted to do anything fashion related, but also easy enough to get back to Oregon,
Hmm.
Washington. And so that I stayed there for 7 years. And in that time, since I had dropped out of school, I was like, well, let's just see what I can do. Was working retail. And then I started going out in drag to some of the bars. And there was always a theme every Sunday night. And so I'm like, oh, cool. It's like a Project Runway
Hmm.
challenge. So then I had like basically from Wednesday to Sunday to make something based on the theme of the group chat.
And your creations were
And
incredible.
so, thank you. So I would show up and dress and drag. Eventually, people were like, "Oh my God, yes, I love this! Like, where'd you get your outfit?" And I'm like, "Oh, I made it." And
Hmm.
as soon as I said that, one person was like, "Oh my God, like you sew? Can you make me an outfit?" So I was like, "Okay." And I remember I used to charge like, feeling like I charged a lot. I was like, "Yeah, I can make this for you for like $150." And, this was 2015, 16.
That's
And
still not that.
now,
That's not that much.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
No.
And then over the years, I started increasing it. And 2018 is when I established okay, this is my business. So I got registered with the state and everything, and I was uh, looking to see how much my growth was per year, and it was so crazy because my first year I was so proud. I did like 5,000, almost 6,000. The
Yes.
following year I did double.
Good. Hmm.
The year after that was COVID, and so it had plummeted a little tiny bit. But then the year after that was like, so the
Right back
trajectory
up.
was still up. And by the time I finished, because I moved to Paris, I was looking at it and I was like, actually, 2021 and 2022 August are neck and neck, $500 off. So had I
Wow.
finished the year, I would have been a lot more.
Hmm.
So, very, very proud of myself for that.
Oh, I'm
And
so proud of you for your whole life. My gosh.
yeah, thank you.
And your
So,
creations are incredible. We gotta, maybe you can send me some pictures. I can put them up at
yeah,
some point.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. And well, the cool thing about like the drag scene in Chicago is that eventually I became friends with some people that ended up going on to RuPaul's Drag Race. And so of course they're like, "Can you make me a look? Can you make me this and
Oh,
that?"
did you?
So,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So I have a few
Domingo.
pieces that are on, nothing grand or anything because drag is also uh developed so much and just it's grown so much. Um and not that I ever wanted to be a costume designer because I remember the C word was just your art teacher is saying, oh, this is looking a little costumey and not
Oh.
fashion. So I
Mhm.
never ever called them costumes, and I never did things that a drag queen uses to perform, to do backflips or things like that, because that to me then reads as costume. You have to
Yeah.
use stretch materials, you have to use like
Mhm.
Velcro or snaps and things like that. And I was like, this is not it's not
Mhm.
high-end fashion, which is my passion. But occasionally they're like, oh, I'm wearing this to a premiere. Can you please make me something? And so then I got a chance to make, you know, beautiful gowns. Um, and that was more my shtick. Uh,
And you're working for yourself now, aren't you?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
you are not employed by anyone and you're doing
no.
fabulously.
Well, also I can't be employed by anyone because with the visa in France,
Oh,
in order for me to stay, I ended up when I graduated, I ended up getting a scholarship to study in Paris. I had the choice of either Paris or uh, London, so I chose
good choice.
Paris. Yeah, I chose Paris.
I know
But
you had a going away party because I know Carl and I went to that. Was that when you were going? Where were you going? Was that San Francisco? Or remember we were at the Nines downtown Portland
yeah, I think this was when I was getting ready to go to San Francisco for school. So
in
this
San
was in
Francisco?
2000, yeah, 2012.
It's the last time I've seen you,
Yeah. Oh
other than
gosh.
I
Right.
know.
Yeah,
Think about
yeah.
that.
So, but yeah, when I was in Chicago, during the pandemic, I was just so bored and I was like, well, just clicking to see how far
Hmm.
did I make it at Academy of Art University. And I saw that I was more than 50%. I was like, ah, if it was like 40 something, I would have said, yeah, no need to graduate. But because it
But
was more than 50%, I was like,
mm,
okay, let's just finish.
let's
So I
just
did
do it.
finish. And because of the pandemic, a lot of schools and universities were like, oh my gosh, how do you keep students in class. Well, when I was
Yeah.
living in San Francisco, I was doing half and half, half online, half on campus, which helped me work full time and go to school full time. So they already
Mhm.
had a really good online platform, and it was just like they just added uh, more classes. So I was able to get my degree finished out in Chicago, and
Mhm.
at this point I had grown my business so much that I had a really nice atelier, industrial machines, mannequins, shelves full of fabric, and all sorts of tools and materials. And so I was able to do my collection. I ended up going back to San Francisco for my like the final month. Did my graduation collection.
Mm.
Um, Got to walk, which is really nice. So all my siblings
That
came
is
down
very
to San
yeah.
Francisco. Like the one and only time that they ever visited me in San Francisco was when I was not living there. But it was so much fun though. And then
Great city.
a couple of my pieces were actually chosen to be on display at a like a part of it was part of the school, but some like art exhibitions. So all sorts of like pottery,
What an
painting,
honor. Yeah.
fashion. Yeah, it was really, really cool. So it was nice to go there and walk through this gallery and see like there's a Domingo Cholula dress, you know.
And I want to say something about your name. Even just your name screams fashion. It does. It
It's
does.
it's taken me a
Your
long time to actually like it.
Oh
I
my
mean,
goodness.
growing up and everyone just saying Domingo Flamingo, Domingo Chalupa,
Well, remember where
all
you went
sorts of
to
things.
school. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just a
So
famous name. I'm serious about that.
thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I do have my labels now. For any kind of like custom garment that I make for anyone, I always
You have
stitch
to.
on my label, and
I
that was
remember
like
seeing your
absolutely
label.
yeah.
Hmm.
And now it says Domingo Cholula, Paris.
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah,
that. I saw
yeah.
the other one. Yeah. Gosh, Domingo. So,
Mm.
kind of the point of this whole thing was one I'm really, really incredibly proud of Kim. I did not know everything that he had gone through. I don't know what I could have done, but I'm pretty sure I would have done something. I would have. And Bull Mountain's really close to me too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Ah,
And did we cover everything you wanted to talk about?
uh, yeah, I guess.
Okay, so you're going to stay
Or
in France.
yes, yeah. I'm
Mhm.
actually really, really happy here. The way of life is really nice.
I know. And
Um,
I'm going to visit you sometime.
and that would be wonderful. I
Hmm.
have all the beautiful spots that I would take you to. But one last thing is like actually Paris and staying here was not really something that was like in my mind when it happened. I knew that I got the scholarship, I got to study here for 1 year, and I thought, okay, well
Hmm.
then after that I get to go back and change my prices and still work on my brand, my
Hmm.
label, all that stuff in Chicago. But I had a friend of mine tell me, well, do you have to move back to Chicago? And I said, no, not really. He's like, is there fashion in Chicago? No. He's like, is there fashion in Paris? Yes. He's like, so do you have to move to Chicago? No. So with that, I got my visa, and
Hmm.
that was the thing. It was the only way that I could stay in France after my student visa expired was to
Yes. Hmm.
work for myself. And
Hmm.
France says, okay, well, if you can afford to pay yourself and have a life, then you can stay. So they gave me a 1 year visa that expired, and I actually just got the extended visa, which is another 4 years. I just picked it up on
Can you get citizenship
Monday.
there?
After 5 years, I can start applying for it.
Okay, you're getting
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Or I can just choose to do a like another 10 year visa. But I think yeah, citizenship I think would be nice because then I would get full
Dual
rights.
citizenship. Yeah, that would be the way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I can't, because I don't have citizenship and because my visa is only for auto entrepreneur. Uh, I can only work for myself. So with that, it's really, really cool too because I get called by um, different brands.
Oh, you can name them.
So I've done
Broad
work.
names.
Well, the biggest client that I work with is Louis Vuitton,
Right.
which that's also something that like I'm extremely proud of, that in a short amount of time from landing here August 2022 to today,
I
that
know.
I'm already working for one of the leaders, the top fashion brands. Yeah. And this is all thanks to one of my teachers. And even during the school year, and seeing the quality of my work,
Hmm.
she's like, "Hey, do you want to go to Barcelona and do some work with me? It's going to be 10 days." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, great."
Sure.
She's like, "Don't tell anyone." And I was like, "Okay." And, no other students, because this is a teacher that chose me to go work with her to make money. And this was not just
Oh.
25 bucks an hour. This was full days of work.
Hmm.
And I mean, it
Hmm.
was incredible. And it was for Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret's big comeback that they did a couple of years ago. And
Hmm.
they worked with
That's
four other, like, female designers from around the world. So that was really, really cool.
wow.
Um, and because of her, I also got doing the jobs at Louis Vuitton. So what I do is a lot of alterations. So during
Hmm.
fashion shows, they invite celebrities, VIPs, and they dress them, of course, and things have to fit nice. So I've taken
Hmm.
a lot of Louis Vuitton home, and um,
I
at
remember
one,
that.
at one point I had also for Hermes. At one point I had two 45,000 euro area rugs in my apartment. So I
Wow.
had to I had to sew on Velcro to these giant
Wow.
rugs. And just out of curiosity, I was like, how much are these? 45,000. So I'm like, oh my gosh, please don't ruin this.
The house payment. That's down
Um,
down payment on
yeah,
the
so I
house.
had
Mhm.
90 grand worth of Hermes in my
In your
apartment.
apartment.
In my apartment. Because I
Hmm.
did not want to take it to my studio. I was like, I don't want
Hmm.
to get this dirty. I just was working on my large table.
Wow.
Um, Other brands I've done, makeup brand, Bourjois, you know, even though
I
it's
don't know.
just it's a makeup advertisement, but the model still has to wear something, has to fit and look nice. And then minor designers that are out here. I'm currently working on something for another designer.
Hmm.
She's pretty new, and her project was to make three looks for, I guess, some singers. And so she's like, "Well, can you sew these for me?" And I said, "Of course." So,
Yeah.
um, and then last week I got to meet one of my favorite musicians, FKA Twigs. So I was actually supposed to go to see the show, but then they were like, "Actually, can you work the event?" So I was
Okay.
backstage the entire time. I felt so bad for my friend out in front, but was there from 8 in the morning doing alterations up
Oh
until
wow.
midnight after the show.
Hmm.
So full day. And then even the following day doing a little bit of work. So yeah, working with
Proud of you.
celebrities and musicians and
Mhm.
other designers who need me for my services. So
And top notch. We're talking top notch. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the
Hmm.
work is very, very tough, and other times it's very simple, and still it pays very well, and other times it's hard and doesn't pay very well. So I'm still learning.
Yeah. I'm just glad that your
Mm.
past didn't define you.
Yeah, yeah,
It didn't
yeah.
define you, and you created
Absolutely.
a wonderful life.
Yeah.
He had a picture of himself. He was he was on the back of a motorcycle, and he was
Ah,
being
yes.
taken to the Louis Vuitton boutique or wherever you were going
Yeah, so I generally meet up at the headquarters,
at the
and that's where we do all
headquarters.
the fittings. And they're like, "Can you go to this hotel? Like, go." And so there I am with like garment bags. I have to do a fitting at a person's hotel room. And so, yeah, to get around the city, the quickest is on a moto.
It's
So,
just crazy. And they were
yeah,
driving you, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And these are like two designated Louis Vuitton motorcyclists that in
That's
case
crazy.
they just zoom to all the
Great.
hotels. And yeah, they treat me well, which is really nice. I'm very happy. I love the
Mhm.
team. Um, but
Well,
no
and you're
discounts.
easy to get along with and, friendly in the whole bit.
Hmm.
So they would be embracing to you, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I've
Yeah.
established a really good relationship with them. So
Yeah.
I've got a fitting on Monday to do. So
Oh my
Maybe be
gosh.
in the offices soon.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the channel. It
Yeah, thank you
meant
for
so
having
much
me.
to me. Oh God, I was so excited. I really was. And I wanted to figure out something to wear because I was wearing a sweatshirt prior to
Right.
interviewing because I was playing with my grandchild. So I'm so glad. So don't get off. We're gonna say goodbye to everybody, but don't don't leave yet,
All
okay?
right.
Okay, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay. And stop.